Specialist in instructional and e-learning and manages the Center for Academic Technologies Thinking and Innovative E-Learning and Development Laboratories, the CAT Lab. And he's going to talk to us about who is the IA in AI. Please help me welcome Dr. Lowe.
Thank you very much. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if my presentation is on the screen yet. If you can just get it up. Right. Let me just see that it connects to all the screens. There we go. Right, what has amazed me always and what I've always been interested is that picture on the top left-hand side of the neurons in the brain, how it fires up one another, how it connects at about 15 megahertz or 15 hertz, slower than a computer, but yet more amazing than a computer. So I've always had this philosophy or philosophical question ever since I taught computer science, and that was the computer really developed as an extension of the human mind, or was it an attempt? I remember in Bicentennial Man, the movie where the robot Andrew became 200 years old and eventually fought for his rights to be recognized as human. He makes a specific statement in the beginning where his owner bought him, and the owner said, "Good night, Andrew." By the way, he's called Andrew because the little girl asked her dad, "What is this?" And he says, it's an android. So she says, "Oh, what's an Andrew?" And from there on, he got his name, Andrew. But his owner says to him, "Good night, Andrew." And he says, "Good night, sir." And he says, "Good night, Andrew." And Andrew says, "Good night, sir." And he says, "No, Andrew, you only have to reply once. So good night." And he said, "Good night." And the owner said, "Good night." And Andrew said, "Good night, sir." He said, "Right, let's just stop there." Else it becomes an infinite verbal loop. So they'll keep on good nighting each other forever. And that is where artificial intelligence comes in. That machine was only programmed to respond to a specific instruction. If I say good night, you say good night. But not once. I am programmed to reply, to say good night if I hear good night. And that is what distinguishes our human brain from an artificial brain. And for that matter, the thinking out and solving problems, the artificial intelligence. So it's not real intelligence. A person has a personality, and a person can breathe. Artificial intelligence has no personality. I can program it that it looks like a specific person. So I just thought, and what made us do that, what is so amazing, is the fact that we have a logical and a creative sphere around our minds, our brains, which gives us mind. And that's why I thought that funny little picture there on the right-hand side on the top that says there's nothing left on my right side, but there's also nothing right on my left side. That for me is typical showing what happens if we try to be the artificial intelligence in a classroom. I can bombard students with left brain thinking. This is the logic. It works from 1 to 2, and that is that. but I do not involve the creative side, the right hand side of the brain. By the way, the theory that says that we are only left hand side or right hand side is not true. We use both sides of the brain together. And interesting enough, if you look at Hoffman's theories, is that we actually are dominant on the one side depending on the situation we find ourselves in. If I get stuck next to the road and my cell phone's battery is dead, what do I do now? There I already start using the creative side of my brain. If I have enough battery power, what do? Phone someone. Is that logic or is that solving a problem? And that's where these two sides are definitely needed by people. So, very interesting. That was the only slide I wanted to show in from this PowerPoint. Then another one, as you can see on that picture there, let me just enlarge it for you. That was me when I saw, is this what it is about? Get this one down. Is this really what it was about? That amazing, that boy that was so amazed. And if you look at this specific picture, let's just run through the little icons with Da Vinci in it. And I look at that specific icon. Can you all read that? And it's written with numbers and letters. And that is exactly by definition what creativity is as well. It says intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. But it also says that creativity is the ability to adapt to what you have around you and use it. Now, when I look at artificial intelligence, there's always some wonderful thing for me that's behind it. And that is, how do I get people to transform? What is digital transformation? I think personally it does not exist. We have always adapted. And I can prove that with two simple questions. The first question is, who in this room does not have a cell phone? The second question is, who in this room does not have a flat screen TV at home? Now, how's that possible? Was it part of your degree that you did at university? Or was it a law that someone brought in that forced us to have that? Why do you have a smartphone? Why do you have a flat screen television? Was it really a necessity? Because if I remember correctly, the past few years economically has not been so wonderful in our country. So where did the money pop up suddenly for a flat screen TV? We wanted one because we wanted one. Why do I have a cell phone with WhatsApp on it? Because I wanted it. The same happens in digital transformation. I can put wonderful educational quotes around all of it and say, but it makes it better. There's an emotional experience. And I can't afford to go out like what I saw with Prof. Robler. I was on a building now walking the plank, nearly 25 stories high. But I can bring the world to myself, but that's what the technology gives me the ability to do. But I cannot sit back and say, I didn't put on the virtual reality glasses because I didn't want to put it on. I was not forced. So my argument is that what you are experiencing is part and parcel the fourth industrial revolution. You are in it, there's no turning back. And to make people aware of what is going on is merely saying, do you watch the news on television? Do you listen to what the kids in school say? So all of those things come to us. Now, in a lot of reading, always interested in artificial intelligence, and because it has to do with my subject field, which is education, and which is specifically e-learning, which I'm very fond of, I realized, but sure, here's a lot of artificial intelligence built into these learning programs. In a nutshell, pedagogy is what I am doing behind what I am seeing. You are merely seeing a paragraph. People will say it's boring. The uncreative person would say, why isn't it a moving picture? But merely in sitting there, what am I trying to say to you? What is behind that slide? That is pedagogy, and that is learning. So it's wonderful. I can post this out there on the internet. Everybody watches it, but I'm not assured, and I must say insured, that everybody will get the same message. So if I write this down and I put it out there to a lot of people, what am I trying, what am I getting at by showing them that? It means that I am the person behind the intention to put the slide out there. It means that I am the person behind the online program, behind the slide, behind what comes out at the 3D printer. That makes me what Turin and a lot of writers say, the agent who developed it. So I am the person actually, if you allow the word, who programmed the intelligence in behind this. And according to artificial intelligence theories, you'll see that AI, which is the artificial intelligence, has got always behind it a human mind, which is called the IA, the intelligent agent. So that's why the topic of this is AI versus IA. In short, AI cannot exist if nobody told it what to do. That is the intelligent agent, which is human. So now I get these questions, and I remember many, many years ago, throughout all of these wonderful textbooks we had, there was always a topic in computer science and IT, which stated, I think in engineering as well, which stated the socio-economic implications of the computer on society. I remember at that stage I told students, and I read it from the book, a computer would be a household appliance like a washing machine. And everybody went ecstatic and they laughed about it. Today, I see the faces. Yeah, so what? That's how it is. That's the rapid change we've been going through. But that socioeconomic implications always had the one major question. And that's what we all should remember in fourth IR. We always have a positive and we always have a negative side. To be able to describe the socio-economic implication is to balance the scales. Let me give you a simple example. 1966, IBM came in. They were already existing. They, by the way, existed since 1956. After the Second World War, people tried to decode how the Nazi Germany had coded stuff for war and so on. And the guys of IBM just figured out how the coding, how to break the code, how it works, and they had built the first big computer, an IBM computer. And the moment they found out and they were ready to present it, the war was over. But at least that helped with further developments in programming in artificial intelligence. So in 1966, IBM decided, here's your computer program, here's a wonderful robot. These robots could build, or one robot could build 10 cars driving motor vehicles in a week, where with manually, man hands, it could only be done, or they could only build one or maybe two cars during a week. What did people do? They jumped up and they said, I'm going to lose my job because the robots are taking over. And we have the exact same thing happening now. Am I still going to be able to lecture? Who's going to do mining? Who's going to work in agriculture? These computers and machines are taking my job. They're not. Who is the person behind the machine running it? An intelligent human agent. So everybody might be scared of losing their jobs because they're emotionally sweeping one another up. But what is happening if I could harvest 20 fields in a day instead of half a crop? I would be productive. So the scale always balances. So how am I safe of what I am doing in my job? I must become the intelligent agent behind the artificial intelligence, the program, whatever, who runs these machines, who run these factories. I also get a concept in fourth IR called dark factories. A dark factory is a robot working throughout the night on battery power without having lights on. They can work in the dark because they don't need light. And I can produce in a factory 24/7 without going home, without getting tired, without paying salaries. But who is the person running those robots? Who is the person checking up on the mechanics of that robot? In other words, who is doing the maintenance? Not the robot, human beings. So fourth IR implies upskilling oneself to be able to run the artificial intelligence. So it means the artificial intelligence should not verse or be against, compete, debate against human beings. It rather means the exact opposite of this topic, or the inverse of this topic that I'm addressing. And that is the intelligent agent should verse or debate the artificial intelligence. Is the artificial intelligence good enough for me to run it? If it is not, who has to adapt? The AI or the IA? And having that at hand, you realize that creativity and problem solving becomes the major issue behind digital transformation. Can I program or get the AI better that it adheres to my needs? Or should I better my skill to get the artificial intelligence to adhere to my needs? It's a very philosophical question, but that is where we all are. And I just want to end off with this simple explanation. Who of you know what a Luddite is? If you look it up in the dictionary, you'll get the definition. Ludite, a Luddite. A Luddite is a person who worked from 1854 to 1865, or maybe 73, in the American industry on the farms where they sheared the sheep. And they took the wool and they made the spinning ball with which they spun and weaved clothes. So Herman Hollerith went and he developed a mechanical weaving machine. And all the sheep farmers throughout southern or Northern America went, or central rather, went, they bought these weaving machines. And those weaving machines took over the jobs of 5 people. So the people went at night and they broke the weaving machines and they burned them down. But the next day, the factory just bought more until eventually they had the blueprints of the plans and they built their own. And then it became commercialized. But those people that broke the machines, who were scared that they would lose their jobs, they were called the Luddites. Now, if we go back into our modern age, we shouldn't be scared of losing a job. We shouldn't be scared of machines. We shouldn't be scared of technology. Then we might become a Luddite. But if I am the intelligence behind using technologies together, I use a printer and a laptop and something else I produce to be able to become the IA, the intelligent agent, then I'm digital fluent. Then I'm ready to survive in the 4th IR. Thank you very much.
It actually is beginning to make a whole lot of sense now, because there are so many fears with a whole lot of people feeling with all these robots coming into the country or into the world, there's nothing left for us. But after this presentation by Dr. Arnolo, I think now we can actually establish that we are still needed in the process of everything. So can we please just give Dr. Arnolo a round of applause for the last time? Do we have any questions that we'd love to ask him? All right. I think you simplified it. We have a question here in front.
Thank you very much. Perhaps then we could ask, are there enough opportunities, training and developmental opportunities to train us and students to become the intelligence behind the technology?
Absolutely, that's such a valid question. And you see the impact. Now we're talking impact of 4th IR. Do we have enough training? Do we have enough resources? You will see in the past few years, the married couple I know the best about knowledge is Mrs. Google and Mr. YouTube. They tell me the latest stuff I need to know. All I have to do is ask Google or go to YouTube. Look at school children. What they do is they Google or they immediately do a search or going to YouTube, and they are shown how to do various things. So, Francis' question, do we have enough resources or so? We have it. We must just not be scared of Googling it. We must not be scared of reading. And that changes our e-learning and training as well. It becomes small chunks of learning. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, who of you has ever read the whole help file of any program? I haven't done it. And our students are exactly the same. If I want to know something, it falls under instant gratification. If I want to know something, I want to know it now. I don't want to sit and read through the whole manual. And we are all the same. That's one of the reasons why we have smartphones. Immediately, instantly. I want to know it now. So if lecturers phone us at CAT, for instance, we try to give info, but also to show, to upheave the training, that I don't have to get a group together, that I can at least have one or two people who knows how to do it. So if their colleagues need instant gratifying, they can immediately ask them. So it's part of the development. What's the challenge for us as IA? We must be so inquisitive that we are not scared. Instead of asking Google, we've got the whole world available. It's a matter of asking over the internet. So it's a difficult challenge. Where do we fit training in? What do we train people? We must train them creative problem-solving skills. Instead of saying, do you want to know where to click? Now you follow the mouse there and you click on that little picture. Icons now, they classify as the fourth unspoken language. We all understand icons on the screen, but we were never taught the icon alphabet. Honors and master students will tell you that little block we click on to save. That looks like we know it's a floppy disk, or the older generation knows it's a floppy disk. And in South Africa, they called it a stiffy disk as well. Our students here, pre-grad and some post-grad, have never seen or touched a computer floppy disk before. But we still use that little icon. You see how easy we adapt. And training, I believe, should be to teach people how fast they adapt. And then I refer back to my quote in the beginning, who says intelligence is actually the ability to adapt. So in South Africa, our challenge is, how fast can we do it? I think that was a quite circumscribable answer.
Do we have any more questions? We've got 2 questions there at the back.
Thank you. My question is, if the trend shows that many people prefer an online banking system, and looking at the working class of South Africa, probably 25 to 40 or 50, what do you do with those people? Yes, we can have the conversation here at this sector university. Yes, we can able to adapt to the changing environment. How about those people who were like uneducated and are working with using manual working methods? So my question is, how do you go about educating those people from that age to not to stay behind in terms of adapting to technology? And also my second question is, given the circumstances of the high unemployment rate in South Africa, and it shows that it's due to the fact that we don't have enough access to internet. How do we go about in terms of doing much more better in terms of being able to get those people to get an access to internet. Thank you.
Thank you for those questions. I don't have all the solutions, but I'll say to you, a suggestion would be, and that's why I'm talking about creative problem solving. Your first question, um, I wish I had the graph here. It works with Robert's diffusion of innovation. In other words, how fast does a community, in other words, a country's people, absorb new innovation? Like I use my example, the cell phone, the smartphone. You'll have someone who invented it. They are on the left-hand side of the model, and they're about 0.1 to 0.3% of a population. Then you get the early or the people who adopt, who grab it in early. Those would nowadays be the youngsters and people who immediately want to use new technology. Gosh, a lot of people were hunting Pokemon amongst the tables and so on. New cell phone games, new music, new ways of doing things. Then you get the early majority, which would be industry and people adapting. Now I'm talking about 25% of the population, a quarter, who adopt to these things and they say, oh, but I see it's very nice. I can talk to my grandchild on a cell phone. I also want a cell phone. Then you get the late majority, which would be the people who usually say, show me first that you use it, that it's not a fad, that it's going to be used for more than 1 year, then I'll also get myself one. And then you get what we call laggards. Those are people who just say, I want nothing to do with this at all. It won't work for me. And they always come up with an excuse that it won't work for them. So people like ATMs and online banking, they've been debating this since the 1970s and getting onto a paperless society, working with cashless, in a cashless society. So it's the matter of, and I go again to adaptability and the way that how fast people adapt to situations. 10 years ago, you still had people who needed to be shown how to type in the PIN at an ATM. Those same people today are sending SMSs to their friends. No one need to show them. It's again an inner motivation. Do I want to? Or do I sit back and say, it's too much for me? The early and the late majority as people adopt in any society. The other thing is, and you can actually observe it, the change of job descriptions, how people become the intelligent agent. I'm going to use a simple example. The security guy standing at the ATM. That guy no longer stands there and sees that nothing happens to the person who draws cash money or who deposits money. That person has become a communicator, a protector, an ATM specialist, and a teacher. And that's what they call that when they call in fourth IR, when they talk about combined skills in a job. So accessibility for us in computer science means, can the person in the wheelchair get to a specific thing? Accessibility misinterpreted in the general population means, how far do I have to walk to get to the internet? And I just said on a tweet outside as well, if I really want to do it, I'm willing to go the extra mile. If I have an inquisitive mind and I know something will make it easier for me, I will go the extra mile to get that easier way. No one has to show me, I'll find out. So it's my creative problem-solving skills I should rather embed. Then I come up with wonderful solutions to simple things like accessibility. Does that answer kind of both your questions? It's a matter of, do I want to? And not sitting back and say, whoa, this wave is coming all over me, I'm going to drown. And you don't have to swim hard at all. It is exposing everybody to what is available, which is part of the function of this winter school today. But solutions I don't have. I'm not running it. So,
Thank you very much. I think you already answered part of my questions. But while you were presenting, you made mention of particular realities. Take, for example, in the factory where you installed the robot to work 24/7, even in the dark, and you are able to achieve cost reduction, then you are not paying salary. I mean, you save a lot of costs. I know the reality or the effects of that, of course, would still be negative on the number of staff needed on production. Yeah. So my area of concern is balancing the effect of job loss. I still believe that while we are trying to emphasize creativity, innovation, and some soft skill and people acquiring skills so that we can be able to balance up with the challenges that the fourth industrial revolution poses. I'm an accountant. In accounting, we believe that it's giving us lots of challenges in the real sense of it, because the nature of accounting job is largely repetitive, that is routine. And in a situation whereby you can put up some algorithms that can integrate the work of 20 people at a greater speed, then the special works, like the specialist jobs like auditing, taxation, all these also can be programmed. So I am thinking that this aspect of job loss is still a reality, because by the time you take off 50 people's job and give to a robot to do, those 2 people, those 50 people, if they are still going to be relevant in the accounting field, I know that they will not all be advisors, because you don't need advice every day, you know. So, I mean, that's area I want you to see. So I'm thinking there might be need for diversification. Yeah, I'm thinking that way.
new curricula.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment. It's exactly balancing the scale. Accountancy, your AI has been coming for years already. Quattro Pro, Excel, Pastel. So that AI is not really a movable robot type of a thing like this 3D printer, but the AI is actually the software. And you know how the job's changed already in the accountancy field. And I agree. So there might be a new job called an accountancy programmer if it doesn't exist already. Yeah, that's a very valuable comment that you made. Thank you very much.
Do we have any more questions? All right, if we don't have any more questions, we're about to break for lunch. Lunch is being served outside, but also as you make your way out, we do have an exhibition that is taking place. So if you want to familiarize yourself with AI and understand how you will be the IA in AI, then you're more welcome to do so. We also have tea and coffee being served on my left, I think your right, and we will reconvene at 1:15. All right, thank you.